Hello out there in Friendship Village land. This is your voice of Friendship Village coming at you today in the beautiful studios of Friendship Village. And we're blessed to have a special guest with us today. So his name is Jim, and we'll find out more about him pretty soon. But first, let me start with this little tidbit of information. I know we're all on the edge of our seat waiting for this to come by. Okay, did you know that Iowa leads the United States in egg production? You did?
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Oh, you did? I thought it was a scoop here.
Okay, go ahead. Okay. Keep on with your scoop.
Well, I mean, it just means that 1 out of every 5 eggs consumed in the country probably came from Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't one of your yolks.
No, this is the fact. Every now and then we try and bring a little education to our audience.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is one of them. But I can see from the two of you that you're not very impressed, or you've already heard it. One or the other.
I read it someplace.
You'd read it. Okay. All right. So without further ado, let's go on. And the next thing on our agenda is just to announce who our sponsor is for this podcast. And we came up with one name. His name is Kevin. Kevin the Mailman. Greatly beloved and appreciated by all of us here who have known him over the years. He's been a great blessing. If you'll just go up to Kevin sometime and say, Kevin, you got a joke? He always has a joke for you. And usually you'll laugh. And it's pretty good jokes. So I've gotten some of my jokes from Kevin the Mailman. And we appreciate his looking after us and bringing us the mail every day. And so Kevin, our hats are off to you today. Hope your day is a good one. And so let's get on now with our guest for interview. His name is Jim. And Mary, why don't you take over?
All right. Today we have a resident of Friendship Village, a man named Jim Waring. And he's a very talented, versatile man. And
wait, how do you know that? How do you know he's...
I've seen a lot of the things he's done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't everybody talented and versatile? Don't we?
In their own unique ways.
Right.
Yes,
Everybody we've interviewed have been talented and versatile.
Certainly. That's the only kind of people we bring on this show, are talented and unique. And
yes.
So,
and he's one of them. So we thought that would be a good one to interview.
Okay.
But we'll start out, like always. We go backwards, and then we work our way forward.
Okay.
So, Jim, where were you born and raised?
Strawberry Point, Iowa, just down the road a piece on a little 135-acre rented farm that is still there, I think, probably incorporated into big business by now.
Yeah.
Just down the road from Backbone State Park.
Right, which I have been to and walked the Backbone.
I used to live in Eldora, which is just kind of not too far away.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a pretty
very famous place in Iowa.
Yeah.
And has a big strawberry somewhere.
Right on Main Street. Must have your picture taken there.
Okay.
Sure.
Good idea. How long did you live on the farm then? Till you...
that was my growing up place, and remained there through high school, and then went off to college and never really stayed home again after that.
Did you have the usual farmer chores to do?
Certainly did. It was just a very little do-everything farm. Mm-hmm. Mother, of course, had the chickens in the garden that's as big as the farm almost. And a few pigs and a few cows and a few crops and a pond to fish in. And
okay. So, like you raised corn and wheat and
corn and oats primarily,
okay,
and hay crops, because we had to, had to feed the cows, and in those days you saved the hay to feed in the winter, and
okay,
and the corn to feed the pigs and grind the feed.
Did you have to get up and do all those chores before you went to school?
4 o'clock in the morning was chore time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Golly.
And after school, there were chores to do, and then change clothes and run through the fields back to high school to join in on the evening activities that were pretty prevalent.
How far out in the country did you live from school?
About a mile and a half.
Okay.
So crossways through the fields, it wasn't
As
a
the crow
long run.
flies, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a short run in much younger days, so it didn't seem so far.
Were you involved in sports?
Not a lot, but some. I played football. It was the beginning of the football in Strawberry Point. Other things just really didn't have time to, but was very active in musical things.
Okay.
Band and chorus and small groups and
Okay.
solo activity and all of that stuff,
Right.
Okay.
which was enjoyable.
Right. So then you graduated and left the farm.
Yep.
Where did you go to college?
Wartburg.
Okay.
Didn't know what for. It just seemed like the thing to do. I had to do something. Everybody's got to be somewhere doing something. I had an older brother who said, go to college, and that just seemed like the place to go.
Yeah.
So I made contact, and they told me the starting date, and away we went.
Now, did you have brothers and sisters growing up? Or?
Not, yes and no.
Yes
my
and no.
brother was 14 years older,
Oh.
and
Okay.
so he was pretty well emancipated and drafted when I was still, well, a youngster.
Yeah.
And a sister who was 7 years older, who didn't much like living on the farm, so she, in her high school days, stayed with grandparents who lived in the big city of Strawberry Point,
Uh-huh.
which made things easier.
Okay.
So in many ways, I had a brother and a sister, but in many ways I was raised as
Kind of an
The
only
baby.
child.
the baby,
Yeah.
as,
Yeah,
the baby.
as
right.
referred to.
I remember we used to study a little bit about birth order and some characteristics of children depending on their birth order. But it was kind of like after 7 years, somebody's born. It's kind of like they're just number one. They're just just starting out. It's not you're not the second or third or fourth. You're the equivalent of the first child. Yeah.
That's how my brother and sister saw it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And they reminded me occasionally. One of the things I remember, laying on the living room floor, there was a hot air register there, eating popcorn out of a big dish bowl.
Yeah.
And if you dropped a kernel, you couldn't have another handful for 7 handfuls. And I remember as a little kid, I couldn't hold a handful of corn, and I'd get all I could and always drop it. And it seemed like it was always gone before it was my turn again.
Yeah.
That was just all.
Yeah.
Strange memory.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we all have them, and I think that's great that we can still remember some of the memories.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we want to do. So then you graduated from college.
Well, you had a major, did you?
Uh,
A declared major of some kind?
yeah, social work, psychology, and
Okay.
philosophy.
Okay.
All right.
I started off with a lot of sciences, and just because that seemed like the thing to do, so I had all of those requirements out of the way, and I had lots of hours to go. So actually ended up with 3 majors.
That's good, though. Really good.
Okay.
So did you end up teaching?
No, I went from Wartburg to the University of Iowa in graduate school
Okay.
and studied social work there
Okay.
and got my master's there
All right.
immediately after Wartburg.
Okay.
And in between times, Fran pointed her finger at me and said, "Hey, you." And I said, "Yes, dear."
Yeah. So you met her in college then?
Yes.
Okay.
And I often say that's where she found me.
She found you in college.
And we were so fortunate.
And was she majoring in music?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We figured that.
Yeah. In fact, we sat across the aisle in concert band. She was the first clarinet, and I was the first trombone, so we were eye to eye.
Oh my. Okay. Just like 180 degrees.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. Then, what was your first job?
Well, the first job professionally was I needed money, of course, to go to graduate school. And Waterloo had a I forgot Junior Service League it was called at that time. I think part of the women's club had a scholarship, the first year scholarship for students who would return to the area and serve the community in some way.
Okay.
And I ended up with that scholarship, so I was indentured to return to Waterloo.
Okay.
And the state also offered a stipend in social work, so I had those two finance sources and indentured to return to Blackhawk County. So I came here in Department of Human Services and was the child protective worker for a couple years. That was a whole department of child protective services.
You were it? One person to take care of all that?
That's when it really began. The
Wow.
abuse, adoptions, foster placements, all of those
Oh
things.
my goodness.
And of
Where was
course,
this located in Waterloo?
right close to morgues, the old courthouse
Okay.
that has since been torn down. But that was what we worked on. And I remember being 3 floors down from top floor and having my desk soaked with water in a rainstorm. That's why it was torn down, I guess.
Yeah.
But those were good years, very educational, and learned to know a lot of people in really horrible circumstances that were miraculous in their abilities to cope.
A lot of work evolved around all of that responsibility.
Yeah, but along the way, I learned that the power is in the patient or the client. It isn't in the counselor or the therapist. We're just instruments.
Right.
And people have a lot of resources.
More than we would initially maybe give them credit for.
More than they give themselves credit,
Then
for
maybe-
sure.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a really good experience, but really I was indentured for 2 years, and at that point, being a new graduate, I thought I knew everything.
Certainly.
So I offered 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and was sure that my name was under the blotter in the sheriff's office and the police department, and they called 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we moved to Florida.
After the 2 years, you moved. Okay.
It's an executive who lied and talked about a family service agency. And when I got there, it was really an adoption agency, which was great fun. We had all those beautiful, rich family babies from the New York and the Northeast would come to Florida on a presumed vacation and leave the baby with us. And we just had many, many, many extra babies that we flew around the country to place in adoptive homes.
Really?
Healthy, positive backgrounds, and lots of applicants. It was so much fun to see the pleased mothers. And
But the people that left them didn't want their children?
many of them were, of course, unmarried, and many of them very young,
Okay, okay,
and many from wealthy families.
okay, I see.
So the kids took a little respite, a little vacation in Florida from the north, and It just happened to be that they had a child while they were there.
Okay.
And then went home.
Huh.
It was really a positive experience, but not what I wanted to make my career doing.
Okay.
I was always interested in mental health. That was the stipends out of Waterloo were in mental health primarily.
Yeah.
And but I wanted some experience before I went and started work as a therapist.
Yes, then you could put that on your resume.
And in my experience bank.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then did you come back to Waterloo after Florida?
At that time, a male social worker was like a gold bar that everybody was looking for us. And I really got recruited by the Mental Health Institute, by the state of Iowa, and worked at the Mental Health Institute Independence as the intake person for the children's hospital there.
Okay.
There for a while, and then got bought out by Beloit of Ames, which is a Lutheran treatment center in Ames, and went there as a counselor and later the executive for a few years. I had a chance to do the board meetings and the budgets and hire and fire and do the routine things
Okay.
of an administrator when I was still very young, to find out I didn't want to spend my career doing that. So I was just extremely fortunate there. It was such a good learning experience. Yeah. Interesting to me that when I was in graduate school, I worked in the mental health center here as an internship and got to know some people. And before I left, I put in my application. I was still in graduate school, and said, hold this. I'm not ready yet, but hold it.
Okay.
And then about 10 years later, I called and said, I'm ready. They still had my app, and they said, when can you start?
Wonderful, wonderful. After 10 years.
Let's take a break here
You
real
bet.
quick. And we want all of our listeners just to remember again that our sponsor today is Kevin the Mailman. Next time you see Kevin delivering mail here some noon hour, just go up and say howdy and say, Kevin, we appreciate you. You do a good job. And Kevin, you got a joke? And I'm sure he'll have one to deliver. Here's just another little tidbit of information. Did you know that the average dairy cow drinks a bathtub of water every day?
No, I did not
No.
know
Does
that.
that sound right, Farmer? Mr.
I have
Farmer?
no idea.
Oh, gosh, I had no
That's
idea.
above my pay grade.
Okay. Did you have animals on your farm? You did. You had
Yes.
chickens, you said. Your mother
Cows, a few cows.
A few cows? Okay.
In fact, we milked
But no
18
milking cows. No milking?
18.
Oh, okay. So that's what you did at 4 o'clock in the morning.
You bet.
Milking cows. All right. So, do you remember having them drink a bathtub full of water every day?
I remember them storming the tank when we opened the gate so they could get to it.
Really?
Thirsty animals.
Oh.
But I don't know how much they drank.
But folks, you heard it here on your local podcast.
Yes,
We aim to please and educate.
yes.
So, but maybe more importantly, let's get back to our guest.
All right, we want to find out about your family. How many children did you have?
We have 2.
Okay.
And they traveled around with us, of course, and grew up in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Did their growing up in Waterloo primarily.
Mm-hmm.
And they're now getting to be older than they were when I knew them best.
Yeah. Boys, girls?
57-year-old girl and a 59-year-old son.
Wow.
Our son currently lives in South Carolina, works with the Federal Reserve Bank.
Ooh.
Has been working in banking for forever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And daughter followed her mother's footsteps and got involved in music.
Okay.
And music major graduated from Wartburg,
Okay.
and went off to church camps and met a fellow there, and when working in a camp in Texas, who now is a pastor,
Okay.
and they have moved around some, but now live in northern Idaho.
Okay, they're spread out.
Yeah.
And how many grandchildren?
There are 6 grandchildren and 8 great-grandchildren.
Oh,
Wow.
Great.
That's a nice family,
Yeah, and they're spread all over the country.
right? They get that way. All of a sudden they take off and they have wings. I swear they have wings that they take off and fly here and there.
Yeah, that's what you hope for. When they leave the nest, they're able
Right.
to fly.
Right.
Yeah.
So how long have you been at Friendship Village when you moved here?
6 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
we came in at a time when we wanted to, not when we had to,
Yeah.
and it's been a good move.
Always in the same apartment?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
well, Phil and I started over at Park Lane, and then when they were going to tear down, we moved over here. So I've been here about 7.5 years total. In this building, 2.5 years.
Okay.
And Phil's about the same.
About the same, yeah.
Yeah. So, and we like it here. We really like it here.
Yeah, it's a good move. We lived in our house just a few blocks from here. So we watched when we moved to Waterloo in '69 was when this place was just ready to open.
Oh, okay.
And my office was just around the corner, so I went past every day.
Mm-hmm.
And Fran and the kids volunteered here frequently with music.
Sure.
So it's always been connected with our knowledge. The kids went to school across the street in Clark Prosthetics Building, which
Oh,
was
when
a
it was
great
a school,
school.
that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So Friendship Village has almost been like home in many ways, in knowing people who lived here too.
Yeah.
So do you get
Good.
involved in a lot of the activities that go on here?
Some, not a whole lot. My if I guess the word these days is my passion
Yeah.
is woodworking.
Absolutely. Woodworking, just right outside my window. I can see the door when he can come and go. And you have made many, many, many things over the years.
Yeah, and
When did you pick up woodworking?
I really started when I retired in 2001. I'd always been a do-it-yourself homeowner, and I'd worked construction somewhat when I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
So I was familiar with tools, but didn't really have tools or time.
Listen, we're kind of running short of time here. We're going to have to sign off. Any parting words from you, Jim? Anything you'd like us to know?
Well, the only thing I would emphasize, I guess, is that everybody has a story, and it's an important one.
Uh-huh.
And the art of finding their treasures is to listen.
Okay.
People are wonderful,
Uh-huh.
and they don't often advertise it,
No.
but the wonder is there.
Right.
Well, I appreciate your comments. Thank you much for being here, being our special guest. And so we're about ready to sign off. And as we often do at the end of our program, we say these words: May the good Lord bless and keep you till we meet once again. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.
Bye.